Okay, so the first thing, just tell me, I really want to, I've been trying to talk to people about like kind of the like the attitude that the Bad Boys brought
Right.
to the city of Detroit and kind of just the whole state.
Okay.
Really giving, obviously, like the city something to be behind, and obviously bringing that like blue collar mentality through sports. So can you just kind of talk about how they really embodied that, and like the way that you saw, just the community, the state, everybody like, really get behind them?
All right. I think what the Bad Boys brought was attitude. You know, we read the T-shirts now, Detroit versus everybody or us against everybody. I think they were really the first team that brought that attitude, because everyone hated the Pistons. They were bad, they were brash, they knew they were good, and so they let everybody know it. So they had an attitude, and it was more than just the toughness, but they talked a lot about mental toughness, about how to get through tough situations through athletics, and that's what they did. So Detroit kind of rooted for them, because the Lakers and the Celtics were supposed to win every NBA championship from then on, and then there's this little team that was overachievers that didn't have a superstar except for Isaiah Thomas, that figured out a way to break into that Lakers-Celtics neighborhood, I guess. And so some people didn't like it, and they changed rules because of them. They were a hard-nosed team, and back then in the 80s, the Knicks were trying to be tough, the Miami Heat were trying to be tough, but nobody could out-tough the Pistons. And Detroit and the state of Michigan love that, because we're always kind of the forgotten area, and people don't think we're as good at things. And so they broke through all of that, won 2 championships, and did it their own way. Even though the league was kind of changing at that time and didn't want that physical, tough play, they said, we're going to do it our way, and that's what they did.
In your profession, like, were there ever times that you heard other journalists kind of expressing like negative feelings towards
the
team?
I mean, we travel around the country, and I'd hear from journalists about, oh, these guys are thugs, they're mean, we hate Lambeer. And I think the reason was because it was a tough locker room. You would go in there, and we had unprofessional journalists, believe it or not. There was guys asking for autographs and could they get shoes signed and things. And you're not supposed to do that in journalism. And Bill Lambeer would scream across the room, "Journalist wants an autograph, journalist wants an autograph." And I was like, oh God, here we go again. And so that would cause animosity and hatred. And so I heard a lot about how they were bad for basketball, they were thugs, and they weren't nice people and everything. And I knew them in a different way. So I heard a lot from other journalists about how they couldn't stand these guys, and they rooted for them to lose.
In your personal opinion, I guess, and I know Lambeer and Mahorn were kind of like the faces.
Yes.
Of the Bad Boys.
They were the sergeant.
Attitude. Yeah.
Lambeer and Mahorn were the sergeant in arms.
Right. So being around them as much as you were, do you think that was just honestly like it just came together and that was just the attitude that all of those men just had like naturally, or do you think it was something that they really had to like put on? You know what I mean? Like
right. I think their personalities were, most athletes are winners. They're used to winning. They're used to achieving at a very high level, but these guys took it to a different level. They knew they were good. They knew they were controversial, but they also knew that the way that they could win was through mental toughness. They talked a lot about mental toughness. Yes, you have to be talented, you have to do this, but there's a lot of things that go wrong in athletics. And I can tell you how I knew this team was real. I think it was in 1988 or 89. They had played a game at Seattle, and they were down 23 points at halftime. And the Sonics run off the court like they'd won the championship. So they're like screaming and hollering, they got this game won, they're going to beat the Pistons at home and blah, blah, blah. And so afterwards, after the halftime, I was walking out and I happened to walk next to Isaiah Thomas, and he said, I can't tell you we're going to win this game, but it's going to be really, really close. They think they already got the game in hand, and we're too stupid to think that we've lost. So we're gonna make this a one possession game. Lo and behold, not only did he make it a one possession win, but they ended up winning the game. The Pistons won it by 9 points. And I was like, wow. And so it was really impressive, and it just showed that you just have to take a step at a time, a step at a time, a step at a time. And that's what they used to do. They would just fight every possession, not let things bother them too much. You know, obviously at some point you're going to fall apart or whatever, but they were always kind of in games and kind of knocking down that wall just a brick at a time, and that was their attitude. So.
Do you think that in this day and age it would be possible for anybody to replicate the style and the attitude that that team had? You know, just with the style of play, and obviously, I mean, just everything is so different now with social media and everything like that. Do you think that it would be possible?
Well, you could replicate what they did on the court. You just couldn't win a championship doing it, because now the rules, you know, guys are a little bit buddy-buddy with each other. You know, they have the flagrant 1, flagrant 2 fouls. People get angry when you try to play physical basketball, and the league doesn't like it either. So that's the main thing right now. I don't think the NBA as a league will allow this. They would tee them up and fine them and have them suspended and everything. You could try to replicate it, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So what is a memory that you have, any incident, anything that happened that you think is like the embodiment of the Bad Boys? Like anything that happened, like a scuffle, just anything that you can recall that's like your Bad Boys moment?
Well, I'll tell you one Bad Boys moment. It's something that Lambert didn't do for a change. They were playing the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee, and this guy named Larry Krychowiak, he's a pretty good center, I mean a power forward, pretty good player. He drove the lane and he slipped, and Lambert was right there with him but didn't touch him. So at the end they blamed Lambert, and he had a serious knee injury, Krychowiak did. So they blamed Lambert, it was Lambert's fault, and it's clear that he didn't touch him, but they got blamed even for things they didn't do. So that was a Bad Boys moment right there. Also, and everyone's has this on tape, was when Robert Parrish just beat the heck out of Lambert. Not only was he not kicked out of the game, no foul, no technical, no nothing. And the feeling is, well, Lambert deserved it because he was a bad boy and he was a jerk and everything. So those are two things that I remember about them. But the other thing that was interesting to me, and I was surprised by this, when they won their championship, they were all these tough guys. We're strong. We're walking around like this. We're hard asses and everything. They cried like babies. And so I think what happened is the struggle was so tough. The struggle was so real. When you got to the finish line, you broke down and cried because, and I talked to Isaiah about this later, and he said that, you know, they just remembered all the tough times. Remember, maybe they would never get here. And it was so exhilarating that it turned to tears. So I was surprised that, you know, guys, you know, the macho guys, and that's what they were, at the end of the journey would break down and cry. So those are my memories of these guys.
Awesome. That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool.
So, yep, I told you it would be quick and easy.
You did.